Sourcing better items faster has been top of mind for me lately because that is what it takes to take your reselling business from one income bracket to the next, which is my ultimate goal right now. It's really what I'm working on. I feel I've been stuck in the same place for way too long and it's time to change that. In the past few videos, I've been talking about how to get better at sourcing great items that do have the potential to sell more quickly, but today I'm going to be talking all about how to do that much faster. What I'm going to be sharing is 10 sourcing tips. Some of them I've been doing for a while, some of them I've recently started testing, but all of them have been helping me get through the thrift stores much faster each time. The tips are basically going to be divided into two separate parts. The first set of tips are things you need to do before you even go sourcing so that you can prep ahead of time. That's going to help with the speed part later. And then the next set of tips, part 2, is going to be what to do while you're at the thrift store to make the process a lot faster. Starting off with tip number 1, and that is to research. Research a lot. This tip is number 1 on the list because it is the number 1 thing you should do before you even go sourcing. Go onto Google, onto YouTube, and research what is selling right now, what brands, what type of styles at the moment for this season are the things you should be looking out for. Doing all of that kind of research is going to help a lot, but more than anything, most importantly, the number 1 place you should be searching is the platforms you sell on. I really try to make time for this every single day, at least 10 to 15 minutes. I will research Poshmark and eBay, look through the solds and even some of the active listings just to see what is getting attention on there. This is so convenient to do on your phone because then you can do it anywhere, anytime you have some spare time. You can look up things on those platforms, but preferably I like to do it on the computer just because the screen is much bigger. You can open up multiple tabs to do your research. So this is something I typically do when I'm having my lunch midday. I sit down at my computer and do a little bit of research. That has helped me make it a habit as well. So let me go onto my computer now and show you how that works. So here we are on the Poshmark website. There are so many things to click into here just to see what you should be looking out for at the moment, what's trending per season. One of the things you can look at for sure is the trends right here. It'll show you all different kind of categories that pertain to each trend, so make sure to look there. The only thing I'm going to be going over is just selecting a specific category from these top menus here. I'm going to go with women's. Right now, what I'm starting to focus on next, the next thing I'm adding to my store are sweaters. So that's what I'm going to go to, women's sweaters right here. From here, I like to add a few filters just to narrow things down. One of the first filters I add is just in. The next filter I will add is a price filter. I want to see the items that are anywhere from $30 to up to $200. I'll put $150 for now and click apply. I put this price filter here just because I like to focus on things that sell for about this amount. It's like what's that saying? Shoot for the star, whatever. Basically, I'll end up around this price, and even if I end up a little bit below, it's still okay. And then I put the cap at $150 because I don't want to see sweaters that are Gucci, Prada, Chanel. If I see that stuff, then I'm going to pick it up anyway. I already know it's good if it's at a good price and if I'm able to know for sure that it's real. But I'm more than likely, very highly not likely, going to find that stuff on the regular basis. So that's why I like to put a cap, just to minimize things down and to focus my search. Sometimes I will look through these things that are listed just to see what people are putting up for sale, but more than anything, I like to put the sold filter on right here. So basically what that leaves us at is items that were just listed because we have the just in category, items that are women's sweaters, and items that have sold for anywhere from $30 to $150. That's a pretty narrowed search, and I'm confident that these are the kind of things I will be able to find too. So from here, all I do is just look through these pages and just try to take a mental note of the things that I'm seeing. One of the things I can see right off the bat here are patterns. Here's a pattern here, more like a graphic, but this is a pattern right here. Here we have this, what is it called? Argyle pattern, this diamond pattern. Here's patterns. We see fall colors, dark colors, big buttons. I just look through these pages and just try to spot out patterns that I see over and over again, brands that are popping up for me over and over again. And when I do see a brand that comes up a lot, then I will open it up into its own link, into its own page. This is a brand that I see a lot when I do my research here on Poshmark. So then all I do is right click on it, open in a new link, and that's going to open up that brand's page for me here on Poshmark. And again, I'll scroll through the listings that are up for sale right now, but I will also apply the same filters as before as well. The Just In, the women's sweaters, 30 to 150, and so now it took us from researching just women's sweaters in general to researching this brand. And again, same thing. I'm just looking for patterns, things that stand out to me, price points as well, whether they're new or used. This particular brand seems to be a boutique brand, so anyone can get a hold of it. And that's why most of them are new with tags. But still, it's good to know. And I will also open up individual listings to analyze them further. So here is this listing, and I can see in their title what kind of keywords they use. This particular listing doesn't have any real photos. This is a terrible example to try to show you this, but basically what I try to do is find the brand tag. I like to see what it looks like because that makes it easier for me to spot it at the thrift store. So here I went back to the women's sweaters category where it shows all of the brands and everything that has sold recently, and here is one that I didn't know about before. It's called The Bar. I was trying to find one that wasn't a boutique item so I can show you this better. I'm going to open it up in a new tab. Well, actually, let's go ahead and open up the brand in a new tab. And I'm going to select my usual filters. And here we can see how the brand does as a whole in the women's sweaters category instead of just looking at one listing. This is the one we came from in the very beginning, and now we get to see more of them. Sometimes you can see an item sold for a lot. That doesn't mean all of those same items in that brand will sell for a lot. Maybe that seller just got lucky and ended up getting a full price sale. You never know. So you want to look at brands and styles and sales that you see on here. Look into them further. Don't just go off of one listing. But from the looks of this, most of these sweaters that look like this by this brand, The Bar, do pretty well. They sell in the 40s, 30s, 50s. Here's one for 15, but that one is one of the only ones that sold for that low. So then what I will do from here is open up into the individual listing and then go look at what the item looks like, try to spot where the branding is, what the tag looks like, and what people are using to list the item, what kind of words, how they're describing it. So now when I go to the store, if I see this brand, it will be easy for me to identify it, that it is a good brand. And once I find it, I don't just pick it up and think, oh, I saw it before, it sold for a lot, this one will do good. No, I try to look it up anyway once I'm at the store, because I've made that mistake before, picking up things just because I saw them on the trending pages and it turned out that the particular style I got wasn't a good one. So do your research anyway. This is just to make you aware of what to be on the lookout for, and once you find those things, then you do your research further. Now I'm on the eBay page, and there's really a lot more ways, even more than Poshmark, for you to do your research. They do have sourcing insights, which I've shared in a different video for you to be able to see what's trending on eBay right now, but I'm just going to show you the quick way, which is basically just how we did Poshmark. I'm going to type in just women's sweaters here at the top, just a general search term. That way I can get to this page where we can add our filters off to the left hand side, and I'm basically going to add all the filters I added on Poshmark. the pricing filter. I'll go ahead and add pre-owned here. That's one great thing about eBay. We're able to search for pre-owned specifically, which is the condition of most of my items. So that's the prices I like to look at. And then we're going to select the sold filter here. And from here, you're just going to look through eBay and click into any listings that look interesting, that have a good price point, something that you're willing to take, and look into what the tags look like, how the listings are created. You can even go up here and sort your items by highest first or by lowest first, just so that you can see what is selling for the most in this specific category and what is selling for the least. And if there is a particular brand that you see coming up again and again, you can click here on view similar active listings, just so that you can see what else is out there of this brand and how much is it listed for by other sellers. Because again, you don't want to just go off of one listing and its sold price. You want to dig into it further so that you can get a better idea how it does as a whole. And I do recommend you do your research by category. So if you're selling pants, do research on pants first and then move on to sweaters and then shoes, instead of doing it all together. I feel like doing it organized in that way will help you retain the information better in your mind so that it doesn't get all scattered and you can remember these things more quickly when you're outsourcing. So that's the kind of research that's going to help you have a very good grasp on what is selling at the moment and what you should be looking out for when you go outsourcing. It's going to help you spot these things a lot more quickly too. You'll be able to notice patterns and brandings and high quality materials a lot faster when you see them on the daily basis by doing this type of research. But nowadays, sourcing and reselling is not all about brands. More than ever before, it is very important to be able to identify style aesthetics as well. And that leads me to tip number 2, know your fashion styles. The easiest sourcing decision for me comes when I know exactly how to describe an item, when I can look at a piece at the thrift store and come up with several different ways to describe the item, several different keywords to add to my listing to attract the perfect customer. When something like that happens, that's an easy pickup, and I have very little doubt that it will sell for me and sell for pretty good money when it fits perfectly into a popular fashion style aesthetic. I have 2 separate tops pulled up here on Poshmark, and I'm going to use these 2 examples to try to show what I'm trying to prove by this point. The first top here is a J. Crew stripe top. This has a lot of different words we could use to describe it. It is striped, it is boxy, it is short sleeve, maybe it's even stretchy. So all of that stuff is great, but who is the ideal buyer for this item? That is kind of hard to tell. It could be any kind of person, someone who just wants a casual vibe, someone who's looking for something of a looser fit, a little bit more everyday. So some great keywords you could use with it, but it's not as clear as it would be for this next example. This rare and fairy day lace fairy core corset top in a size large. That title even seems more interesting than this other one. It's just striped blue and green top. This one right here has a little bit more personality and different words you can use to describe it. It has a clear aesthetic and so many different attractive words you could use, like retro, vintage, feminine. It also gives me that Victorian vibe, a Regency vibe as well. So the ideal buyer for this kind of top is a lot more transparent. It is a lot more clear and straightforward. And that's what you want to try to do with your pieces. Have an ideal customer in mind beforehand so that you know exactly who you're going to sell it to and what words you're going to use to describe it to attract the right buyer for it. When you become very familiar with all of these fashion aesthetics, you're going to be able to source faster and a lot better items too, because you'll be able to recognize pieces and who they're for before you even buy them, just by the vibe and look of them. And to get better at all of this, you can do the same thing as I mentioned earlier. Just use Google, research on there. There's many different blogs that will discuss all of these different topics and all of these different aesthetics, because there are new ones that pop up all of the time. On YouTube as well, I follow many resellers who focus on making fashion aesthetic videos for resellers. I will link some of them down in the description. But aside from that, there are many fashion vloggers who focus is on fashion. They're not necessarily resellers, but they are also good channels to watch. But if you're completely new to all of this, what I recommend is you focus on learning the classic fashion styles, the things that never go out of style, because there are many micro trends that pop up here and there, but they're only popular for the moment. At first, what you need to do is get real familiar with those that never go out of style, and that is what my keyword ebook focuses on. I share 20 fashion styles that have longevity, along with other related keywords you can use for each one, so you can pair them together and add them to your titles and descriptions. That ebook has many visuals as well as links to brands that focus on each fashion aesthetic, so you can really learn them and be able to spot them when you see them. With those two things, you're going to be off to a very, very good start if you're doing your research on Google and on the platforms to know what brands and what type of items are selling at the moment for the season we're in, and then also knowing and being able to identify these fashion styles really well. With all of that, you're going to be well prepared so that you're able to source faster next time you go out to look for things to resell. But there is one more thing you should probably know before you go, and that is know your standards. By this, I mean to have some guidelines for every part of your business, really, but today we're focusing on sourcing. So have guidelines before you go sourcing. Know what you are willing to pick up versus what you're not. When I was focusing only on shoes at that moment, I knew I'm not looking through any clothing racks because right now my main focus is shoes. For you, you may be doing clothing, but you don't want to focus on anything bulky like very heavy jackets. Have all of those guidelines in place before you go, so you're not wasting your time looking through things that aren't going to work for your business. When it comes to condition, how are you going to handle that? Are you going to pick up things with flaws and try to repair them later? Is that okay with you, or is no flaws a strict rule you're going to adhere by? And the most important guidelines of all that you should have very clear before you go is how much you're willing to pay for a piece. What do you want your final profit to be on each piece? At least a minimum you should know. And when it comes to sell-through rate, what is the highest and what is the lowest you are willing to take? All of those things are things I've been working on getting more clear and defining a lot more precisely in my business as of late, and I've talked about it in some of my most recent videos. So if you want to see how you can get clear on all of those things for you, yourself, and your business, you can watch those videos. But what I've noticed is that the more clear I get on those things, the faster my sourcing decisions are. I'm able to look at a piece, run through the guidelines in my head or on my phone, as we'll talk about later, and make a decision quickly instead of going back and forth trying to decide. It simplifies things so much because all I have to do is go through the racks, pick out the items that call out to me based on the research that I'm doing daily on the platforms and with fashion aesthetics. If the condition and the price checks out, then I look at sell-through rate, the average sold price online, and if all of that meets my minimum standards, then I will take the piece home to resell it, and if not, then I don't, no matter how good the brand is. And all of that leads us to the next tip, and that is to use cheat sheets. To calculate all of those numbers I just mentioned, the average sold price, what my final profit would be, and the sell-through rate, all of those things, I use cheat sheets now. I really don't know why I didn't start doing this sooner. I think because before I would only go sourcing to my thrift stores when they were having a 50% off sale on the whole store. So there was really not that much math to be done, although there was some that I did have to do, and I think it would have helped me a lot if I had all of these cheat sheets on my phone ready to go beforehand. But now I do, so let me show you how I do it. The Notes app that I use for this particular instance is this Samsung Notes app. Here I have this pricing charts folder, and I have 3 different price charts. I asked ChatGPT to make these for me, and what I will do is just go into each one. At the top, when I click those 3 dots, it gives me the option to add to, and then I'll just select home screen, click add again, and now the chart will be in my home screen. This is the 20% platform fee chart. I'm going to move it to this other page right here and just make it bigger, and I'll do the same for the other 2 charts. And now what will happen here is that I have all of my apps and everything ready to go. On this first page, I have the 75% off price chart, so all I have to do is look through here to see what the item is priced at the store and what I would be paying as the final price myself. This is for 75% off, 25% off, and then once I see how much I'm going to pay for it, I will go to the eBay app right here and search up comps just to see how fast the item is selling and about how much I could possibly get for the item online. Once I have those 2 pieces of information, I can quickly swipe through here to get to the 20% platform fee chart that I have here. 20% platform fee is what I am charged for selling on the platforms. It is the highest one. It is Poshmark's fee, but I just always use that one, and I know that it's going to work for the rest of the platforms as well, even though they charge a little bit less. I just go with the highest one, and then I would just deduct how much I'm paying for the item from the fee shown here so I can know what my final profit will be. And according to the sell-through rate percent I saw on the eBay app, I may get the item or I may not. So having these 3 charts ready to go here just helps me save a little bit of brain power so that I can focus on actually sourcing instead. I don't have to use my calculator as much to figure out what my final profit would be. I just swipe through these charts here and make decisions a little bit faster than before. So if you'd like to do this, you can just go to ChatGPT and ask it to create any type of charts you need. These are the ones I use because these are the tags that my store usually has: a 25%, 75%, and then they also have 50%, but that's easy for me to calculate on the spot without needing to do any mental math or take out my calculator. So that's why I only have these 2 charts, but figure out what charts you need for you to make faster decisions at the store. Ask ChatGPT to create them for you, and then just copy, paste them into a notes app like this. Along those same lines, the final tip I have for you to prepare before you go to be able to source faster is just to organize your phone. As you may have seen there when I was showing my phone screen, I have all of the apps I need to do my research at the store ready to go. My camera, my photos app, the platforms I use, Google Lens, everything is there where it's easily accessible so that all I have to do is unlock my phone and click whatever app I need to do my research. Another thing I do is just to make sure to clean up my phone of any unnecessary screenshots or pictures that I don't need anymore when I'm outsourcing. And I do look up comps on items using the eBay app, which I showed you how to do in this video right here. I take a screenshot of the comp, and I also take screenshots of any websites I come across as I'm doing my research, just so that I have it and I can see all of that information and I don't have to look it up again when I'm listing. All I do is have my phone right by me, look through my screenshots, and I'm able to price my items quickly and use different words, keywords, and style names that I come across as I'm doing my research in store. So because of that, I end up with all sorts of photos and screenshots from all over the internet. So I make sure I clean all that up before I go sourcing too. So basically, just make sure your apps are where you need them to be, that your phone is clean and organized, and everything is ready and set to run smoothly. Now we get to the action part of this video. These are things to do while you're in the store to be able to source faster and spot the good items quickly too. Starting off with the first and most important one in this section, and that is to scan, don't sift. This is something that I had down pat when it came to shoes. I could just look down an aisle, scan, and pick out things that had potential. I didn't have to look at every single shoe to decide if I should pick it up or not. It was a quick process. Just look down the aisle, spot the good things, and then look at it to decide if I should pick it up. But when it comes to clothing, I don't have this ability yet. It's something I'm still working on. And I suggest you do the same if you're not doing this already, because aside from doing a lot of research beforehand, this is the next thing that's the most important thing to get better at in order to source faster. And I guess in the beginning, this is something you have to do. You are going to have to sift through every item, or at least a lot of items, in order to get good at spotting out the good ones by just visually scanning a rack. So in the beginning, when you're new to reselling or you're jumping into a new category, I guess it's okay to take it a bit more slowly, notice branding, fabrics, and get familiar with all of these things. But the ultimate goal should be for you to be able to visually scan a certain area of the thrift store and to pull out the items that have potential without having to go through every single item and look at every single tag, because that takes way too much time. One of the things that's going to help you do that, to visually scan and pull out the good items, is doing a lot of research beforehand. But aside from that, when you do find a really good piece, make sure you're paying real close attention to the defining qualities of that piece. Feel the fabric and pay attention to how it feels so that you're able to quickly spot it next time. Make sure to look at branding. Where is the branding? What do these tags look like on these items that are high quality? Paying attention to all of these things a lot more closely in the beginning is going to help you train your eye to be able to spot quality more quickly. That way you don't have to sift through entire racks one piece at a time in order to find the good stuff, because depending on how busy your thrift stores are, by the time you're done doing that, most of the good stuff is going to be taken. We are on tip number 7, and that is to use a timer if you need to. When I was sourcing only shoes, that was super simple. I would just pop into a store, scan the shoe aisles, pick out what looked good, check things out real quick, and then move on to the next store. It was a pretty quick process. I can go to many stores in one day and get enough items for the week. Now that I've added clothing into the mix, it's not as simple anymore, because there are so many racks. Depending on what store I go to, there could be like, let me see, up to 10 long racks of jeans and of pants and of leggings. It's a lot to get through. And so I find myself going through a lot of junk just to find the good things. And I have that type of personality that once I start something, I want to finish it. Once I start a rack, if I don't finish it, I get overwhelmed with this like fear of FOMO, fear of missing out, that if I don't finish the rack, I may be missing out on something good. But now I am starting to realize that that kind of thinking, that belief, is not serving me well at all, because it can take me hours to go through all of those racks just to find a few items. This is something I recently started doing, so I'm still testing out what works well for me with this. But right now, what I'm trying out is giving myself about 2 to 2.5 hours per store and putting a 30-minute timer on my phone. After the 30 minutes are up, if I'm finding enough things, then I will continue staying at that store. And if I'm not finding that many good things, then I'm just going to move on to the next store after about 2 timers. If I'm there an hour and the amount of items I'm finding is not enough, then I just need to move on to the next. Same with a category, each section in the store. If I'm going through jeans and I'm not finding a lot, then I'm just moving on to the next category instead of being so dead set on finishing each category once I start it. Using a timer like this is helping me stay a lot more focused, because after some time of being in a thrift store, after going through racks and racks of clothing, I kind of get in a trance and I start looking at every label, which was not my intention to begin with. What I want to do is just scan, but after a while I just kind of get, I guess, fatigued after sourcing for a while, and I start looking at things one by one and I kind of gotta snap out of it. On that same note, another thing I've been doing is when I can't decide on an item, maybe I ran the numbers and they look a bit iffy, but I feel like I could possibly still sell it. If I come across that kind of situation, then I will save the item for the end so that I can look at the piece again and then decide. Sometimes I find enough good things that I'm not as tempted to take that questionable item home after all. And if I still am tempted, then I just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and decide. Instead of researching things over and over again and going back and forth with the piece, I just give myself a time limit and move on to the next. So basically, the goal of these timers and these restrictions that I'm putting on myself for the time being, while I get better, I don't intend to use these things forever. I don't think I will need to, but for now, it's helping me stay focused. It's helping me to keep it pushing as I'm out there sourcing, because as I've been saying, I am on a mission to increase my sales, and for that I need to list more, so I need more inventory, so I got to source faster. And another thing that's helping me do that is if I do need to do comps, I need to do them quickly. As many of you know, I've shifted my business from barely doing comps to barely not doing comps. In the past, I was picking up things mostly based on styles, just on past experiences, on things that have sold for me in the past, and I would check comps maybe 5% of the time. Well, now I flipped that and I don't check comps on maybe 5% of the things instead. When I first started doing this, doing a lot more comps when I go sourcing, I was pretty slow at it at first. And the number one thing that helped me do comps a lot faster is don't force something to work if it's not working. Before, when I would check comps using the eBay app and it came back with a 2 to 10% sell-through rate, which is too low for me, I would try to recheck the item, use different words to see if I could get that sell-through rate to go up, and just to see if I could get better results basically. But now I'm not doing that anymore. If I see that the sell-through rate comes back as a 15%, then maybe I will try to tweak some things to see if I can get it at least to a 20% or a little bit higher. And I will also double check my spelling in the search bar, because the eBay app is so sensitive. Any little letter that is out of place and it's going to give you back a bad result. So I double check those things. There are a few exceptions there, but for the most part, if after checking comps something is not working, if it's not meeting my standards, I'm not going to sit there and try to make it work. I'm just going to do my quick comps and move on to the next. And this next tip number 9, sticking with the subject of comping, is to check your comps in batches. This is something that I have been doing since I started reselling because it makes the most sense to me. But I do still see resellers when I'm outsourcing going down an aisle and checking comps on every single item they come across one by one. When I see someone doing this, I almost want to go up to them myself and explain to them that they are missing out on so much by doing that. At the very least, I think it's best for you to at least finish one section of the thrift store, comp the items you got there, put back what you're not getting, and then move on to the next. This is what I do when my cart is way too full after going through one section. Sometimes that happens with shoes, especially now that we're going into winter. The things are more bulky, so it fills up my cart quickly. Then I will batch check comps after each section. But if I'm not finding much in a particular section and I am able to get through all of the sections at once before I check comps, then that's what I'm going to do. And when that happens and I end up with a cart full of all sorts of different things, I still check comps by categories. I'll do all of my pants at once, all of my jeans, and all of my shoes. And even with that, when I find a lot of the same brand, as I'm checking comps, I'm making a pile of those brands. This happens a lot with Judy Blue. I can find up to like 7 to 10 Judy Blue jeans in one go. So instead of checking each of them as I come across them in my cart, I just make a pile of them off to the side. And then when I'm done checking comps on the rest of the jeans, I'll go back to all of the Judy Blue at once. That way on my comp search, I just have to switch around a few words to check comps on that particular style. That makes things go by a lot faster. And the last tip I have is just to focus and try not to get distracted when you're out there sourcing, because sourcing time is money making time. Your business and how well it does each month is going to be completely dependent on how many items you get and what kind of items you get. So this is something that I've been trying to apply myself, just being a lot more focused when I'm at the store, especially because I'm entering new territories as I'm including more clothing categories in my business right now. If no one is with me that day when I'm outsourcing, then I'm going to have my earbuds in, have some music on. That way I'm not getting distracted by conversations around me. I don't look up to see what other resellers are getting. I'm just focused on what's in front of me and trying to scan the aisles to get the good items and do the research on them. Also, I'm not on my phone answering any customer questions at that time. I'm not checking my platforms or answering any offers in that moment. I'm not on Instagram posting or checking anything. I leave all of those things for when I'm in line waiting to pay or when I get back to the car. I just want to leave you with a bonus tip because I think it's really important for you to hear, because I need to hear it often myself, and that is just to be kind to yourself. Learning how to source good items and learning how to do it quickly takes time. As you may have seen from some of my vlogs I posted when I barely started sourcing clothing again after not doing it for so many years, it was very frustrating at first. It was very time consuming too. It was not an easy process, so I could only imagine for people who are barely starting to do this from the very beginning with no previous sourcing experience. I am starting to get a little bit better as time goes on. I'm not anywhere near where I want to be, which is why I'm always thinking about how I can get better and why I came up with this list of things for me to do it better and more efficiently. And eventually the plan is to not have all these restrictions in place and to just go to each store, do what I gotta do and move on. But for now, all of this stuff is helping me a bunch. But also another thing I want to mention here is to not get too bothered by what other people are getting, whether it's online or at your store. If you see someone is finding a lot of things or very good things, don't let it bother you. Keep in mind always, this is something that I say to myself over and over when I'm out there sourcing, what is meant for me is for me. I will find it if it's meant for me, basically. And there is so much stuff out there to get. So just trust and believe that you will find yours, especially if you do your due diligence before you go to the store. And if you focus once you're there and you just keep it pushing. I'm so glad I made this video. It's an idea that I've been having for a few weeks now as I've been trying to get better myself. I know there are many people out there who are trying to do the same to grow their business and just move on to the next level, because that's always the ultimate goal here. I really hope these tips have helped you, and if there's anything missing from this list, something that's helping you out to find better items faster at the thrift store, make sure to leave a comment down below so that we can all learn from each other. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.